right. Hey guys, thanks so much for having us. So I'm Taylor Voelker, head of marketing for Roundtable Pizza, and I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves quickly as well.
All right. My name's Ha, and I am head of marketing at Pokeworks.
Hey, and I am Katelyn Zborowski, and I'm head of brand strategy and calendar for Pizza Hut US.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so today we're talking about turning browsers into buyers, right? We've got tons of people looking at our social media pages, kind of perusing our website, and honestly, it's crucial to understand and optimize that customer journey, right? So when potential customers are coming to your website and your digital pages, what are some key strategies that you're using to capture their attention early and then encourage them with next steps to ordering?
I've got thoughts on this.
Yeah. Go for it.
I'll start with a couple of things. One, I think fundamentally, and I don't know if this is a me problem or a marketing problem or what, but I think that for some reason we believe that that digital ordering experience and customer journey is fundamentally different than brick and mortar. And I just wholeheartedly know that it's not. And so I try to keep in mind, hey, what did they see and what were they interacting with in terms of our brand and our messaging before they got there? And really be mindful of that, because if I relate it to brick and mortar, I think, I might have seen a cool Target ad or one of their amazing campaigns, but when I get to the store, at least in my experience, odds are I'm not buying whatever thing I saw in that ad. I fall in love with something else. I end up spending way more money than I anticipated. But I think the idea holds true for digital, which is, yeah, you should make available and make it easy to find whatever it was you were advertising, but it's not supposed to be matching luggage all the way through. That certainly shouldn't be the only thing that you're presenting to them. So it's all about taking advantage of the fact that you have a few seconds of their attention and showcasing the right variety, really blowing their minds with beautiful photography, images, compelling copy, but not being too cute with it, and serving up the right easy choices all the way through the funnel.
Awesome. Ha, anything to add?
I mean, it's very true. I think simplicity is key, and I think the actual visuals are really important as well. So I think when you're a smaller brand, when folks are coming to your website, you need to remove as many of the barriers as possible, because what we found is we literally all have just seconds to capture their attention, move them down the purchase funnel, and then when they're purchasing, I think the key thing is making sure that they somehow slide into your rewards program so you constantly can follow up with them. I used to do a lot of CRM marketing, and I constantly try to capture somebody's phone number or their email address so that I never have to pay for ads for that particular guest again.
Yeah, smart, definitely. And honestly, that kind of leads into the next question, right? So how do you leverage that customer data to really personalize the marketing efforts, right? So once they're there and once you've captured them with your simplicity and your iconic content, and for me, for Target, it's the bright, shiny, clean, right? It's like not even about the product sometimes. But yeah, so once you have that information, how do you make it more how do you make their experience more compelling and more personalized and something that, I might care about, but some of you might not, right? How do you speak to me kind of one-to-one in that way?
Yeah, I do think, honestly, it's challenging, and I think it's challenging to do on a large scale. When we're talking about CRM messaging or app inboxes, it's much easier to show hyper-personalized content and recommendations. From a Pizza Hut perspective, we are getting there with the web and app, but we certainly have a long ways to go. And I just couldn't be more thankful for the robots that may eventually take over, but AI, because I do think that it's going to unlock the ability to do exactly that for every single visitor in a way and at a speed that us, humans, and just on a manual level, we would never have been able to get to. So for now, it's about look-alike behavior and knowing, hey, this is, if 30% of people who order this pizza typically add an 8-count or 16-count of wings, how are we consistently serving up the right smart suggested upsells? That's how we're stepping towards that. And a lot of that, for me, is inspired by, as a vegetarian, how frustrating it is when I go and order food online from different brands, and honestly, even our own sometimes, where I buy a Veggie Lovers pizza, or I buy a black bean burrito supreme in my old life at Taco Bell, and the number one suggested add-on is a double beef something or another. Or, you know, as much growth as there is in chicken, something with chicken. It's just doesn't feel like they get me. So I think it's important to show that you understand and you are leveraging what we do have, which is a lot of transaction and product level data, to at least make the smartest possible suggestions in the meantime.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You mentioned AI. Have you guys started, diving into that at all, or kind of understanding how it could help your marketing processes? And to your point, taking the human beings out of it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with OfferFit on some pilot programs, more in the CRM and loyalty space, but with really amazing results so far. So we haven't scaled it too far beyond that, but very early promising results.
Awesome. I saw you were about to say something. Did you have anything to add?
A few things. I think the personalization piece is really interesting because what we find is often people don't, steer away from what they typically order. They're always ordering the same things. And when they're doing that, what we're trying to do when we're trying to, build drink attachments, et cetera, is we're kind of pinging different segments of folks with these offers to expand, kind of, flesh out their particular meal, and then identifying who's actually responding to that. Because once that happens, and it happens after an, X number of times, they are also going to be consistently purchasing those additional items. But that's how we're looking at personalization.
Yeah, that's super smart. Definitely agree with that. And so kind of moving from the customer to the product, right? So what role does urgency or scarcity play in turning browsers into buyers? So, we talk a lot about LTOs, limited time offers, and special deals. Has that proven effective for you guys in your campaigns?
Not really. So
Honesty.
Not where I thought
I'm
you were going to
just-
take that.
I'm just being honest here. So what we found is actually something that changed the way that we've run certain types of promotional campaigns. So the thing that we found is there are certain types of product promos or side promos or whatever promos, and we used to run them where we say, hey, you've got today to come in and take advantage of this promo. Turns out that didn't really work. What we did do, though, is we observed that sometimes we see a huge spike in uptick for, let's say, a free side of avocado for that day, and we see it for Spam Musubi. So what we did is we took the promo period and extended it for a week or 2 weeks at a time, so guests can actually take the time they need to come in to redeem it. And I think it depends on what type of brand you are. For us, we have a longer cycle in between when somebody's going to eat raw fish again. And so we know that they need time to, come back to us.
Have some carbs in the meantime.
Oh my gosh. I would say yes and no. I do think you're right. It comes down to the brand and your consumer base or customer base, and honestly what they expect of you. In my time with Taco Bell, we lived and breathed by LTOs. I mean, every 4 or 5 weeks we were launching grilled cheese burrito, toasted cheddar chalupa, naked chicken chalupa, which is not as scandalous as it sounds, just the shell was made of chicken. But that was, why people would choose Taco Bell, so we had to do it. It was actually incredibly difficult to drive mass traffic by talking about the core. It didn't break through the same way. With Pizza Hut, we are much more core focused, so our LTOs look a little different. It could be flash sales or really steep discounts that honestly our franchisees don't want to do for longer than a limited time. But it's also a really helpful tactic and mechanical lever to make something that might not be as broadly appealing, or perhaps we're concerned could be polarizing, but to give it that edge and to make it a little more broadly appealing by saying, hey, you might not like this, but it's only around for a couple of weeks, so now's the time to find out,
Yeah, it's definitely striking that balance, right?
Yes.
Of kind of having your evergreen content and what people know and love you for, but then also the new news, right? And keeping people interested and coming back. So yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. We were talking yesterday about something that I just thought was super interesting. So social proof, right? Things like reviews and testimonials. We want to hear from each other. We've heard a lot about that the last couple of days. Authenticity, and not so much kind of brands stuffing something down your throat, if you will, but really hearing from each other and from people we trust. Word of mouth marketing. We all know that that's paramount, right? So how can things like reviews and testimonials influence purchase decisions? And what are you doing to showcase that, right? Their consumer feedback and user-generated content, building trust and encouraging these browsers to become buyers. What are your strategies in doing so?
Yeah, so we took a lot of data just over the past 12 months or so, and it's very similar to what I've observed in the e-commerce world, which is any of us purchasing anything online today, you're not buying anything with no reviews, no social proof. And in fact, the better those reviews, the more voluminous those reviews, chances are you're going to see an uptick in sales as a brand owner. And for us, what we've observed is, you can drive growth in reviews simply by asking. And so we have this email that goes out to our operators that literally the title is, all you have to do is ask. And it sounds very simple, but we had to align our store operators, the store teams, the owners, our own operations team to really kind of build the awareness for the importance of this social proof. And we're trying to build social proof where most of the eyeballs are, combined with where there's actually purchase intent, right? When we're doom scrolling on social media in the evenings, we're probably not looking to eat right away, but there's a lot of interest in search volume when folks are looking for lunch, right? When we're looking for a place to get that next hot chicken sandwich, we're trying to figure out which one's the best one. And there's only one way to find out, and it's probably on Google Maps and not on TikTok. So I think when for us, we're a small brand, and we rely on that to generate a lot of organic goodwill and letting our guests and customers speak for us.
Yeah, keeping it simple, right? And to your point, that word of mouth marketing. And I think it's really interesting too, the search aspect, right? Because TikTok and Instagram and all these other platforms that are so visually appealing are incredible, right? Like, not going to knock it clearly. But I love that piece about the search, because that's where the intent is, specifically during certain day parts as well, right? When you're actually looking for, a restaurant to go to, and then with those good reviews and more stars, of course, your brand is going to pop up sooner, and so that would lead someone there quicker and at their convenience. So, anything to add from you, Katelyn?
Yeah, I mean, you saw, I think, a great example of social proof. Gosh, was it yesterday? Yeah, is it the third day, fourth day? I don't know, I've lost track of time. But Lauren, who was up here speaking about Pizza Hut and the Love Island integration, I think examples like that can work really, really hard for a brand. And it's social proof in a different form than I think we used to think about it. I mean, it used to quite literally be, you're on the website, I click the review section, and how many are there? How good are they? How many stars out of 5? And now it is just, it's much squishier, and it's much more dispersed across the internet experience. And so I think finding ways to break through in really interesting and relevant channels, whether that's in earned or if that's on social, but consistently getting the right message out there that is authentic, hopefully positive, and has that product integration, it really is a game changer. But it's not as easy as it used to be, where you could say, hey, get $5 off your next visit for leaving a review on our website. It doesn't work that way anymore.
Right, it doesn't feel that authentic, right? Yeah. So I'm going to open it up a little bit. What other ways are you leveraging technology to improve your conversion rates for the guests that are coming to your pages?
Well, I mean, that's a bit of a can of worms.
It's broad.
Yeah. I mean, I do think being incredibly maniacal about customer data, customer analytics, and keeping a very close eye on your churn rate, the product level detail, like truly understanding what the heck is going on beyond just the daily sales report, I think that is key. I think for some reason, and this again could be a marketer thing, we want to jump to the solution and jump to, okay, there's this shiny thing, let's put that front and center, it's going to solve all our problems. And I think the bulk of the work needs to be on the diagnosis and using the incredibly robust data that we do have today. And that's not easy. There's really not one, in my experience, software solution that does that for you. It's about having the right tech stack, making sure it's really clean, making sure that it's well oiled, and building the rigor around leveraging, pulling, distilling the insights from that data, and having that inform what the heck you do about it.
Right. Do you think AI will play a role in that moving forward?
I hope so, because a lot of it is still so manual, and you still spend a lot of time going a little cross-eyed looking at Excel sheets.
Right.
So I hope so. Now, let's be real. I hope it doesn't get so good that none of us need a job anymore.
Yeah,
but
we love this conference, you know?
I think we're a ways away from that. That can wait until we're, on the verge of retirement.
Awesome. Do you have anything else to add?
I mean, I agree with everything that was just said right now. There's a ton of technology out there, and in particular, I think it's more just trying to figure out how do we reduce friction at every step of the way, right? So when your site is slower, your chances of getting that sale is lower, right? The one thing I found fairly interesting is in different industries, you have advancements with machine learning, where you can actually figure out that John and Jane that showed up on your site last time purchased, like an ahi tuna poke bowl with a side of avocado. But in restaurants, I mean, if we have some friends out here in the audience that has kind of dynamic personalization without login, I'd love to speak with you, because that would help a lot in terms of just reducing that decision-making friction and creating that conversion.
That's a really good point. I mean, you can only know a customer as well as you can know them. And if they're not logged in, they're not a member, you don't have their history. I haven't personally seen a solve for that just yet, aside from, okay, well, they added this to the cart, they might also like this.
Yeah. So what are some ways that you entice people to join your loyalty program or to give you their information so that you can be more one-to-one and have a better understanding of who that guest is?
I mean, people love free food. Let's just be real. I mean, that's always going to work the best. They love free food. They love steep discounts. And so, as I mentioned earlier, doing something like a buy one, get one free or 50% off only in the app, that makes it really appealing and makes it worth it to take the 20 seconds, maybe 40 seconds, depending on how quickly you type, to put in your information. Because at that point, it is a little transactional. It is a trade. And customers today, they're just smart. They know what we're doing with their information, with their personal data. It needs to be worth it. And so for us, that has been something we've consistently done. We have also explored, as well in my time with Taco Bell, is it about merch? Is it swag? Is it free food? Is it a mix of all of these things? And for whatever reason, I mean, I think humans are simpler creatures than we like to think we are. Free works really, really hard.
Agreed, definitely. And then I think also, we were talking earlier about creating compelling and shareable content, right? Like free discounts, of course, that's going to perk your ears up. But, how do you maintain that guest, right? So you get them in your database, you're learning about them. Maybe they're not coming as often as you like. Talk to me about like the customer journey and how much weight that holds on having the right messages at the right times to, really entice different consumers to just buy more frequently.
I could take this one. So a few things is getting them into your loyalty program is for us crucial, because once they do, one thing that we've had to re-engineer is basically the incentives. So before, and I know different brands deploy different incentives, but we used to require that a guest visit us 5 times before they see any value from the interaction. And we realized, look, we're trying to get them to come in next week, not 2 months from now. So I think even when we're giving guests a really nice, free drink, free food, free entree, the way that we position it could be very different. So if we, turn into a guest point exchange, I think those work quite well. And then this way, you can actually stack up a gradually more appealing set of offers, right? And we found some pretty immediate success when we launched our new loyalty program last week. So.
Oh, last week, that's awesome. Yeah, and kind of that consumer, like that decision tree, right? So if this, then that. Katelyn, anything to add to that piece?
Yeah, I mean, some of the folks that had joined me yesterday at the roundtable discussion around, engagement strategies for lapsed users probably heard a little bit about this. But I do think it's not just about, what did they buy last time or how often do they purchase? I do think we need to go a click deeper and understand what is driving their decision making and what's driving that behavior. And that could look a little different for each segment of your customer base. I mean, some people, it could be more about defending that frequency and making sure that consistently they're getting their value for their money. Maybe they're more price sensitive. And so that would indicate a different stream of auto trigger messaging or a different set of offers. Whereas a super light user who, I don't know, maybe they come once or twice a year, they're probably a little more motivated by newness and new news and innovation. And so serving them up the right and most interesting and compelling content at the right time. And then you could have a whole other host of people who, it's really just relevancy and they consistently buy the same thing over and over. But we know they're using the category for all these other occasions that we actually have products that could serve. They're just unaware. So that could be more about education and menu exploration, and you don't need to go as rich or deep on the discounts. And so I think understanding the why behind the behavior is critical so that you're, again, saving yourself some money, to be honest, because not everybody needs the same 50% off, but doing what is going to drive the behavior that you desire.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Well, I'm getting my 5-minute mark here, so I guess we'll open it up for questions.
All right. Who's got a question for the panel? Love it.
So my question is for reviews. Once you had everyone start getting reviews, can you talk a little bit about how you incentivized operators to respond? And did you see a huge spike in, awareness on the SERP and local 3-back?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for asking.
Remind us who you are, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Ryan Snecky, BB Bop, loves sprinkles and vanilla ice cream, in case anyone forgot.
Yes, you forgot.
So this was a huge thing that we had to figure out, right? Because reviews are definitely not the most sexy marketing topic, but they amplify literally the ROI of every single type of marketing campaign, right? So for us, we thought about the sequence of incentives as being the owners first, so all of our franchise partners, and then their store associates. And so the way that we kind of rolled this out was we first, think about constant education, right? We would meet with them one-on-one every single week, and then what we did is we crafted a program where we would put an advertising fund together where we would deploy it, we would do the work of running these campaigns once they've achieved a certain level of reviews. And so there's a goal that they would hit, and it's very clear. There's no kind of confusion around that. And then we worked with them to kind of just conceptually think, okay, well, you should incentivize your team because they're the ones that has to serve the guest to make sure that the food and the experience is great. And so, sometimes it just depends on the franchisee or the owner, but they would decide on X dollars every time John and Jane would get a 5-star review for that store and their name is mentioned. And so it was very direct, it was very specific, but the mental model that we would show them is, think about your business when you have 85 reviews, right? You're competing. Restaurants are one of the most competitive industries like anywhere, but you're competing against everybody else in your neighborhood just to sell lunch or dinner. So you have to show up much better, right? But once they figure it out and we showed them pilot store data that, hey, if you go from 85 reviews to 500 reviews, this is the return that you can expect to see. And when they start thinking about, hey, if it's $5 for John and Jane and I only need a few hundred reviews, it's a no-brainer for them to go all in.
All right. Can we get one more? Oh, all the way across. Well,
You guilted it into it.
we're going to start here, and then we'll go all the way across.
Hi, I'm Jenny Quentin with Domino's. I had a question about the acquisition discount messaging. How do you secure buy-in from your franchisees, knowing that that hits profitability? Like, what's your communication strategy for that?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to being able to demonstrate quantitatively that there's incrementality. I don't think it would work and it wouldn't be possible if you couldn't do that. And the irony is the only way you can do that is by running it. And so that's always a fun debate to have. Thankfully, when I came into role, we had already done a few buy one, get ones, and we knew for a fact that that one day flash sale was enough to pull up the same store sales growth lift for the entire week. You'll always have a certain level of pull forward and the people who are waiting for that great deal. So maybe they'll come on a Wednesday instead of the Saturday. But overall, we have consistently been able to prove incrementality and then demonstrate how that flows through to overall greater profit. Especially when you can prove that, hey, 30% of those visits were new customers, people who haven't been to us in the past year. It really does help, but you need to tell the story with data. Otherwise, it becomes an emotional debate, and 50% off it's scary. It sounds scary. I grew up with parents who were franchisees, not of Pizza Hut, of a different brand, but I remember lots of debates and conversations and complaints, frankly, about corporate and, oh, they're crazy. They have no idea what they're doing. They're killing our profit. And so that's always really stuck with me and driven me to make sure we have the proof and the data. And if we don't, we need to go and figure out something else.
All right. Well, thank you all three for the time and the really engaging conversation.